Hello, my love. Welcome to Stories with Oge Pleasure. Please subscribe and leave a like for us. It means the world to us. Please share the video with friends and loved ones. Also turn on the notifications to get notified for next stories. Sit back, let's dive into the story. The scorching Lagos sun was at its peak when Chimaobi stood at the balcony of his luxury penthouse overlooking the bustling streets. To the outside world, he was a successful businessman, a philanthropist even. But those who knew the undercurrents of his empire understood the depth of his reach. At just 35, Chimaobi had amassed wealth and power most could only dream of, but he carried the weight of secrets that could crumble his world. A knock at the door broke his thoughts. His right-hand man, Nduka, walked in, holding a manila envelope. "Boss, the arrangements for your mother's burial are complete." But Nduka hesitated. "What is it?" Chimaobi asked, his tone calm but commanding. "There's word from Umuoma. The elders are questioning the source of your wealth. Some are saying they might not allow the burial rites to proceed unless you prove yourself." Chimaobi chuckled bitterly. "They want proof? After all I've done for that village." Nduka didn't respond. He knew better than to speak when Chimaobi was like this. A convoy of sleek SUVs arrived in Umuoma 3 days later, kicking up a cloud of red dust. Villagers paused their activities to watch the cars drive past. The chatter was loud and mixed. Some admired the young man who had made it big in the city, while others whispered accusations of blood money and occultism. Chimaobi stepped out of the lead vehicle, dressed in a crisp white kaftan that contrasted sharply with his dark sunglasses. He greeted a few familiar faces, masking the unease he felt from the piercing stares. His elder brother, Ifani, stood at the entrance of their family compound, arms crossed. Ifani, once the pride of the family, now worked as a teacher in the village secondary school. To him, Chimaobi's wealth was a constant reminder of his own perceived failure. "You finally remembered we exist," Ifani said, his tone dripping with sarcasm. Chimaobi forced a smile. "I'm here for Mama. Let's not do this today." But the tension was palpable. Even the villagers could sense it. As the burial preparations continued, Chimaobi met with the village elders. The leader of the group, Chief Ineo, leaned heavily on his walking stick as he spoke. "Chimaobi, we know you have done well for yourself in Lagos. But people are asking questions. They say your wealth comes from questionable sources." Chimaobi clenched his fists under the table but kept his face neutral. "With all due respect, Chief, I have donated money to this village countless times. I've built roads, schools, even that borehole by the market square. Does that count for nothing?" Another elder, Papa Nwik, spoke up. "We appreciate your contributions, but these rumors, they cast a shadow over our community. If we let you bury your mother without addressing this, it could bring shame to us all." Chimaobi felt the walls closing in. He knew this wasn't just about his wealth, it was about power. Some of the elders had long resented his influence, and now they had found their moment to strike. That night, as the compound grew quiet, Chimaobi sat on the veranda, sipping palm wine and lost in thought. Suddenly, a piece of folded paper landed at his feet. He looked up but saw no one. Unfolding the note, his heart skipped a beat. "We know your secrets. Leave this village now, or you'll regret it." His instincts kicked in. He called Nduka, who had stayed back in Lagos to manage operations. "There's a problem," Chimaobi said, his voice low. "Someone's trying to play games in Umuoma. I need you to find out who." "On it, boss," Nduka replied. But Chimaobi knew the threat wasn't just about his secrets. It was a warning that the life he had built was on the verge of unraveling. The night air in Umuoma was thick with tension. Chimaobi sat in his mother's room, now eerily silent without her presence. Her faded photograph sat on the bedside table, her smile a painful reminder of the peace he once knew. But peace was a luxury Chimaobi hadn't tasted in years. The threat he received earlier weighed heavily on his mind. He reached into his pocket, pulling out a second phone, one he rarely used. Dialing a number, he waited as the line connected. "Nduka?" "Boss, I'm already digging. But you need to tread carefully there. Someone close to you might be feeding your enemies." Chimaobi's jaw tightened. The possibility of betrayal wasn't new, but in his hometown, it stung differently. The next morning, Chimaobi strolled through the village square. His presence commanded attention. Some people greeted him warmly, while others avoided his gaze. He stopped at the local mechanic shop where his childhood friend, Ikenna, worked. Ikenna, my brother, Chimaobi greeted, pulling him into a hug.
Ah, Chima.
Look at you, big man of Lagos, Ikenna teased, wiping grease off his hands. What are you doing here walking freely like a common man? Don't your bodyguards protect you anymore? Chimaobi chuckled. Not here, my friend. This is home. Or at least it's supposed to be. As they chatted, Chimaobi noticed a figure lingering nearby. It was Amaka, Ikenna's younger sister, who had once been Chimaobi's closest confidant. Her eyes were wary, and she seemed hesitant to approach. Later, when Chimaobi caught her alone, he asked, Amaka, why are you avoiding me? She hesitated, then whispered, Chimaobi, be careful. Not everyone in this village is happy with you. Some people, they want to destroy you. Who are they? Chimaobi pressed. Amaka shook her head. I don't know. Just watch your back. That evening, Chimaobi returned to the compound, where Ifani was waiting. The two brothers hadn't spoken much since Chimaobi's arrival. Ifani, we need to talk, Chimaobi said, sitting opposite him on the veranda. What is there to talk about? Ifani replied coldly. Why do you hate me so much? Ifani laughed bitterly. Hate you? No, Chimaobi. I pity you. You walk around with your fancy clothes and expensive cars. But do you even know what real life is? Do you know what it feels like to struggle every day, teaching children in a classroom with leaking roofs, while you sit in Lagos counting money? Chimaobi sighed. Ifani, I never asked for this. I worked for everything I have. Worked? Ifani spat. We both know you didn't get here by honest means. Don't insult me by pretending otherwise. Their argument was interrupted by the sound of raised voices near the gate. Chimaobi rushed out to find a group of young men, village vigilantes, demanding to speak with him. You think you can just waltz into Omuoma with all your money and power? Their leader, Obinna, sneered. This is our land, not Lagos. Show some respect. Chimaobi's temper flared. If you have something to say, say it. But don't come here barking like dogs. The tension was electric. It took the intervention of Chief Aneo, who arrived moments later, to defuse the situation. Later that night, Chimaobi sat with Chief Aneo in the elders' compound. The old man's voice was low as he spoke. Chimaobi, you need to understand something. People here see your success, but they don't see the struggles behind it. And when people don't understand something, they fear it. Or worse, they envy it. Chief, I don't care about their envy. But I won't let anyone threaten me or my family, Chimaobi replied. Chief Aneo sighed. You have enemies, Chimaobi. Powerful ones. And some of them are closer than you think. As the elder and the vigilante left their compound, his mind raced. He thought about Ifani's anger, Amaka's warning, and the note he received. The pieces were starting to come together, but the picture they painted wasn't clear yet. The next morning, Chimaobi received a call from Lagos. Nduka's voice was urgent. Boss, I found something. There's a name that keeps coming up, Obinna. The same guy who caused trouble last night. He's working with someone close to you. Who? Chimaobi asked, his heart pounding. I don't have the full details yet, but it might be Ifani. The revelation hit Chimaobi like a punch to the gut. Ifani? His own brother? The thought seemed impossible, but the pieces were starting to fit. As Chimaobi prepared for the next move, he knew one thing for certain. The battle for his legacy had only just begun. The dawn broke with a heavy mist over Omuoma, shrouding the village in an eerie stillness. Chimaobi couldn't sleep. The weight of Nduka's revelation was too heavy. Ifani, his own brother, conspiring with Obinna? The thought made his chest tighten with both anger and disbelief. He needed answers. And he knew there was only one way to get that. That evening, Chimaobi sat outside, pretending to be lost in thought. He noticed Ifani pacing near the gate, his expression troubled. Chimaobi seized the moment. Ifani, he called, his voice calm but firm.
What?
Ifani responded, clearly irritated. We need to talk. No shouting, no arguments. Just the truth. Ifani hesitated but finally sat down across from Chimaobi. Are you working with Obinna? Chimaobi asked bluntly. Ifani's eyes widened in shock, but only for a moment. Where is this coming from? Obinna? That thug? Why would I? Don't lie to me, Ifani. Chimaobi cut him off. I know more than you think. And if you don't tell me the truth now, I'll find it elsewhere. There was a tense silence. Then Ifani exploded. You want the truth?
Fine.
Yes, I spoke to Obinna. But not because I'm working with him. I wanted him to expose you. I wanted everyone to see you for what you really are, a criminal. Chimaobi's hands curled into fists. You don't know what I've been through, Ifani. Do you think it's easy to survive in Lagos? To rise above nothing? I did what I had to do, for this family, for this village. Don't you dare act like this was for us. Ifani shouted. Everything you've done has been for yourself. Your money, your power, it's all about you. Meanwhile, I've been here, picking up the pieces you left behind. The word stung, but Chimaobi refused to back down. So, you thought betraying me was the solution? Aligning yourself with a thug like Obinna? Do you even know what he's capable of? Ifani didn't respond. He simply stood and walked away, leaving Chimaobi with more questions than answers. Later that night, Chimaobi sat in his room, replaying the conversation in his mind. Ifani's words had revealed more than anger. They hinted at something deeper, a betrayal rooted in years of resentment. A knock at the door broke his thoughts. It was Amaka. Chimaobi, I need to tell you something, she said, her voice trembling. What is it? He asked, motioning for her to sit. I overheard something earlier. Ifani met with Obinna again today. They're planning something big. I don't know the details, but it's happening soon. Chimaobi's blood ran cold. How do you know this? I was at the market. They didn't see me, but I saw them. Ifani looked scared. Whatever they're planning, it's not just about you. It's about this entire village. Chimaobi knew he couldn't wait any longer. The next morning, Chimaobi visited an old shrine on the outskirts of the village. It was a place he hadn't seen since childhood, a place where his late father had often warned him never to go. But desperate times called for desperate measures. The shrine keeper, an elderly man named Izuto, greeted him with a knowing look. You've come for answers, Izuto said, his voice raspy. I need to know who is behind this conspiracy, Chimaobi said. And I need protection for what's coming. Izuto nodded. You're walking a dangerous path, Chimaobi. But I can help you, at a cost. What do you want? A blood oath, Izuto said. A promise that once you uncover the truth, you will not seek vengeance for yourself, but justice for the village. Chimaobi hesitated. Revenge was tempting, but he knew justice would hold more weight. He agreed and sealed the oath with a cut to his palm, letting his blood mix with the sacred soil of the shrine. That night, Chimaobi called Nduka, who had uncovered more information. Boss, it's bigger than we thought, Nduka said. Obinna isn't acting alone. He's working with someone else, a powerful figure in Umuoma. Someone who wants to take control of your influence in the village. Who? Chimaobi asked, his heart racing. Nwik, Nduka replied. Chimaobi froze. Papa Nwik, one of the village elders? The same man who had questioned his wealth during the elders' meeting? It all made sense now. The whispers, the threats, the escalating tension. But the betrayal cut deeper than he expected. Ifani wasn't just a pawn in this game. He was a willing participant. Chimaobi knew he couldn't confront Nwik directly. Not yet. Instead, he began laying his own plans. He met with Chief Aneo, who had always been supportive and confided in him. Chief, I need your help, Chimaobi said. This isn't just about me anymore. If we don't stop this, Umuoma will suffer. Chief Aneo nodded gravely. I'll do what I can. But be careful, Chimaobi. These men you're dealing with, they have nothing to lose. Chimaobi also reached out to a trusted ally from Lagos, Chaik, who specialized in gathering intelligence. With Chaik's help, he began piecing together the full scope of the conspiracy. Days later, Chimaobi's fears were confirmed when he intercepted a meeting between Ifani, Obinna, and Nwik. Hidden in the shadows, he listened as they discussed their plans to discredit him and seize control of his businesses in the village. "I still don't think this will work," Ifani said, his voice shaky. "Chimaobi isn't stupid. He'll figure it out. He's already weak," Nwik replied. "The villagers are turning against him. Once we're done, he'll have no choice but to leave." Chimaobi's hands trembled as he clenched his fists. His brother's betrayal wasn't just a personal attack, it was a calculated move to destroy everything he had built. Chimaobi knew the time for subtlety was over. The following morning, the village square buzzed with activity as the weekly market came alive. Traders called out to customers, children played by the dusty roads, and elders gathered under the ancient Udala tree to share stories. Chimaobi moved quietly through the crowd, his presence drawing both curious glances and wary stares. He wasn't here to shop, he was here to send a message. Chimaobi stepped onto the wooden platform at the center of the market. It had been used for village announcements and traditional ceremonies for decades. His sudden appearance silenced the crowd. "Omuoma people," he began, his deep voice echoing across the square. "I have come here today not as Chimaobi, the Lagos businessman, but as your son. This village raised me, and I owe it everything. But now I am under attack, not by strangers, but by those I trusted." The murmurs began almost immediately. People whispered among themselves, speculating about his words. "There are those who seek to tarnish my name and destroy my family. They have accused me of using dishonest means to achieve my success, but I tell you today, my hands are clean. I have given back to this community more than I ever took, yet they still conspire against me." The crowd erupted into full-blown chatter. Chimaobi raised a hand to quiet them. "I will prove my innocence, and when I do, the truth will expose those who have worked in the shadows to bring me down. Until then, I ask for your prayers and patience." As Chimaobi stepped down from the platform, he was approached by several villagers. Some offered words of encouragement, while others remained skeptical. Among them was Mama Nkechi, a widowed trader who had always been vocal about her doubts regarding Chimaobi's wealth. "Chimaobi," she said, her voice laced with suspicion, "you say you're innocent, but can you blame us for wondering? These days, success comes with too many secrets." "I understand your doubts, Mama Nkechi," Chimaobi replied calmly. "But I promise you, the truth will come out." As he left the market, he caught sight of Ifani watching from a distance. Their eyes met briefly before Ifani turned and walked away. That evening, Chimaobi sat with Chief Aneo in his compound. The elder's face was somber as he spoke. "Your declaration today was bold, but it has put a target on your back," Chief Aneo warned. "Nwik and Obinna will not sit idle while you expose them." "I don't care," Chimaobi replied. "This is my home. I won't let them destroy it." Chief Aneo sighed. "Do you know why Nwik hates you so much?" Chimaobi shook his head. "It's jealousy. Years ago, when you were just starting out, Nwik tried to expand his own business. He borrowed money from some dangerous people in the city. When he couldn't pay back, they ruined him. He blames you because, in his eyes, you succeeded where he failed." Chimaobi was stunned. "But I never had anything to do with him." "Hatred doesn't need logic, my son," Chief Aneo said. "Be careful." That night, Chimaobi woke to the sound of breaking glass. He sprang out of bed and rushed to the living room, where flames were already licking the walls. Someone had thrown a bottle filled with kerosene and a burning rag, an improvised Molotov cocktail. Shouting for help, he grabbed a bucket of water and doused the flames. Neighbors quickly rushed in to assist, but the damage was already done. As they worked to put out the fire, Chimaobi found a note pinned to the compound gate. "Leave Omuoma before it's too late." The attack was a clear warning, but it only fueled Chimaobi's resolve. He met with his trusted ally Chike the next morning, who had traveled from Lagos with new information. "Boss, we've confirmed that Nwik and Obinna are behind this," Chike said. "But Ifani, he's not just a pawn. He's actively working with them." Chimaobi's heart sank. Despite everything, he had hoped his brother's involvement was minimal. "What do they want?" Chimaobi asked. They want to ruin your reputation and force you to leave Omuoma. Once you're out of the way, they plan to take over the projects you've invested in, like the school and the market expansion. They've already started spreading rumors that you built those projects with stolen money. Chimaobi clenched his fists. They won't win. Determined to clear his name and expose the conspiracy, Chimaobi devised a plan with Chike and Nduka. They would gather undeniable evidence of Nwik and Obina's illegal activities and present it to the village council and elders. But this wouldn't be easy. Nwik's influence in the village ran deep, and many elders were either loyal to him or too afraid to oppose him. Before putting his plan into action, Chimaobi confronted his brother one last time. He found Ifani sitting under the Udala tree, lost in thought. "Ifani," Chimaobi said, his voice heavy with emotion. "What do you want now?" Ifani snapped. "I want to know why. Why would you do this to me? To Mama's memories?" For a moment, Ifani's anger faltered. "Do you even know what it's like to live in your shadow? To watch everyone praise you while I struggle to make ends meet?" Chimaobi's voice softened. "I never wanted you to feel that way. I worked hard so that you wouldn't have to struggle. But if I've failed you, tell me. Let's fix it together." "It's too late for that," Ifani said, standing up. "You made your choices, and I made mine." As Ifani walked away, Chimaobi realized that the brother he once knew might be lost forever. Chimaobi met with Chike and Nduka in a secluded corner of the village. The men brought with them documents and recordings that could unravel the conspiracy against him. "We've been tracking Obina's activities for weeks," Chike said, spreading out photos and notes. "Here are receipts of the bribes he's been giving to certain elders, including Nwik. And this," Nduka added, playing a recording on his phone. In the audio, Obina's voice was clear. "Once Chimaobi is out of the way, we'll take over his projects. The school, the market, they'll all be ours. The villagers will forget about him soon enough." Chimaobi clenched his jaw as he listened. This wasn't just about money or power. It was a deliberate attempt to erase his contributions and turn the village against him. Chimaobi knew he couldn't fight this battle alone. He reached out to Chief Ineo, who had always been a voice of reason among the elders. After explaining everything, Chimaobi handed him a copy of the evidence. "Chief, I need your support," Chimaobi said earnestly. Chief Ineo examined the documents carefully before nodding. "This is damning, Chimaobi, but exposing it will shake the village to its core. Are you ready for the consequences?" "I am," Chimaobi replied. "This isn't just about me anymore. It's about the future of Omuoma." Chief Ineo agreed to call a meeting of the elders and council the next day. The following day, the village square was packed. Word had spread about the emergency council meeting, and everyone was eager to hear what would unfold. Chimaobi stood before the elders, his heart pounding. Among them was Nwik, who maintained a calm, smug expression. "What is the meaning of this gathering?" Nwik asked, feigning ignorance. Chimaobi stepped forward. "I have called this meeting to expose the truth that many of you already know but have chosen to ignore." He handed a stack of documents to Chief Ineo, who began distributing them to the elders. The crowd murmured as they watched, and the tension in the air was palpable. "These documents," Chimaobi continued, "prove that Nwik and Obina have been working together to destroy my reputation and seize control of the projects I've funded for this village." Nwik laughed, his voice dripping with mockery. "Chimaobi, do you think waving papers around will convince anyone? Where's your proof?" Chimaobi motioned to Nduka, who stepped forward with a speaker. He played the recording of Obina's voice, followed by another recording in which Nwik openly discussed his plans to bribe the elders. The crowd erupted into chaos. "Is this true?" one elder demanded, turning to Nwik. "This is an outrage," Mama Nkechi shouted. Nwik's calm facade cracked. "This is a setup. Chimaobi is trying to frame me." "Enough lies, Nwik," Chief Ineo bellowed, silencing the square. "The evidence is clear. You and Obina have betrayed this village for your selfish gains." The council voted unanimously to strip Nwik of his title and banished him from participating in village affairs. Obina, meanwhile, fled the village before he could be apprehended. But the betrayal still lingered, especially the pain caused by Ifani's involvement. That evening, Chimaobi returned home to find Ifani waiting for him. "You've won," Ifani said bitterly. "Are you happy now?" "This isn't about winning or losing," Chimaobi replied. "It's about doing what's right." "Why couldn't you see that?" "Because I was tired of being nothing," Ifani admitted, his voice breaking. "You don't understand what it's like to live in someone's shadow, to feel like you'll never measure up." Chimaobi's anger softened as he saw the pain in his brother's eyes. "Ifani, I never wanted you to feel that way. You're my brother. Everything I've done has been for this family, for us." Ifani looked away, ashamed. "I don't know how to fix this." "We start by being honest," Chimaobi said. "Not just with each other, but with ourselves." Over the next few weeks, Chimaobi worked tirelessly to rebuild trust in the village. He organized community meetings, ensuring transparency in all his projects. Slowly, the villagers began to see him not as a distant businessman, but as one of their own. Ifani, too, began to change. With Chimaobi's guidance, he took on a role in managing the school project, using the opportunity to prove himself to the village and to his brother. Though the wounds of betrayal would take time to heal, the family began to find its way back to each other. Months later, the village held a ceremony to honor Chimaobi's contributions. As he stood before the crowd, flanked by his family, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. "Omuoma is my home," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "No matter where life takes me, I will always return to this place. Together, we will build a future we can all be proud of." The crowd erupted into applause, and for the first time in a long while, Chimaobi felt at peace.